What is up, Sparks the Paranormal family? I am so just stoked, full of stokage, if you will, that you are all here in this wonderful place on the YouTube channel, hanging out for another great episode of what I have now just did because I didn't come up with another name. It's just called The Show. So, welcome back. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that hung out last week as we were talking to Anthony, aka Fake Jason Paranormal. Awesome dude, great stories. This week we have another great guest for you, but real quick, I want to point something out to you. So tonight at midnight Eastern Standard Time, I'm dropping something new into the merch store, but it's a limited run, a very limited run, actually. It's only going to be available for 1 week. So for those of you that are fans of literature, fans of funny, stupid things, and fans of the paranormal, you will be able to get a hold of the K2 Brute shirt. So it's a nice little ridiculous design that I hope you all understand. And if you don't, then this shirt is apparently not meant for you. But this is how my brain works. And I think we've all realized that when I come up with a stupid idea, I put it on a shirt. So, I hope you all are excited for that. It's only going to be available from Sunday to Sunday, midnight to midnight. So definitely pick that up. You guys rock. But super importantly, our guest is here. Yami. Yami, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I am super excited to be here, John. Although, boss, I have to just say, the shirt, I love it. It's a great
idea. I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm glad you enjoy my because I am, that a slight literature freak, and obviously with being a paranormal investigator and everything, my brain went. I constantly say "et tu, Brute" all the time, just like in random situations that it has nothing to do with, but I do it. And then my brain was like, I looked at my K2 meter and I was like, K2, et tu. Oh, I'm gonna have to turn this into a shirt, am I not? Yeah, I'm gonna have to do this.
I think that's the perfect way to create merchandise, in my opinion. That sells.
Well, I've got that one, and I've also got the "Don't Be Dumb" shirt. Everybody who has seen the show multiple times knows "Don't be dumb, don't be dumb." So let's say hi to some people. I got my buddy Zach in here from Rooted Expeditions.
I love the peekaboo.
We've got Tony in here from Haunted Expeditions.
Hey.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm here.
Yes, I do know.
Cassie is here. What's up, Cassie? Hello, Cassie? Our really good friend and a guy that was actually the season finale of my audio show, Mr. Greg Morrell. How's it going, buddy? How's it going, buddy? Yes. And then we've got Fake Jason Paranormal. Anthony is back in here. Dude, I'm so happy to see you here, man. We had a great time last week. It's awesome. Keisha, one of my investigators, is in here. Actually, my other investigators, just two of us at this point. Keisha, what is up, girl? My dude, Dan Tex. Everybody knows Dan Tex. If you don't know Dan Tex, you need to know Dan Tex, a.k.a. Daniel Moreno. Dude supports everybody. He's fantastic.
We love that.
Alyssa, who is Keisha's daughter. What is up, girl? How's it going?
Hello.
Oh my God. PETA from Ethereal Sisters is in here. What? We're just blessed today. We're just blessed,
It's a blessed day, John. It's a blessed day.
It really is. So, I want to know, how did you find yourself in the world of every category of the paranormal? Because it's kind of what you fall into, I believe, is a little, you dabble in everything.
Yeah, I like to dabble. So, like, growing up, I've always been like, it's like an odd fascination with the strange, the weird, and the unknown, the unexplainable. And then growing up, I had a few like weird encounters, experiences throughout my life that I just couldn't explain. So it was just always there. And then TV happened, and History Channel and Discovery Channel and the Animal Planet started doing like these specials on like the Chupacabra and like Bigfoot, and I was like, oh my gosh, this stuff is out there and this is amazing. Why aren't people talking about this more? So I was the child that would go to the library and like check out like all the strange books, all the books on like cryptids and things like that from a young age. It just fascinated me. And as I grew up, it just didn't go away. Like it just continued to grow. But then I realized as I grew up that there are other people like me who like seriously like investigate these things. There's like a lot more behind it than people I think realize. It's not just like an interest. It's for some people it's a lifestyle, it's a job, it's much further than that. And I just dove right in with the podcast, and pandemic hit, stuck at home. I didn't know what to do, and I said, well, maybe I'll start a podcast. And I was like, what to talk about? And then this came up, and it was just, I had no idea what was going to happen, if there was going to be a lot of response or not, but I just wanted to reach out to the community that I knew existed. And I mean, it worked, because I'm here talking to you, John. I'm talking to all these lovely people in our chat too. So like, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's crazy how it just kind of takes off, because my story is very similar to yours. Like I started mine in September, and here we are. Like I had no idea that it was going to. I'm being contacted by people to be on their shows, or that people want to be on my show, and I'm like, okay,
me too.
Not ready for this.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy. There's been an uptake. Like pandemic really brought out a lot of people's creativity, because we were all, the world paused. And I know like I'm an extrovert, if you all can't tell by the amount of hand movement that's happening right now, but I'm an extrovert, and so like it was very difficult for me to go from like talking to people 7 days a week to being at home. No offense to my family if they're listening, but like it was a very hard change. And so like I wanted to reach out to people that I could relate to. So it was just a swing, and look at that, there's an entire community that reached out back. So I'm so grateful. It's amazing.
So you mentioned that you had a couple of unexplained events happen to you. Let's run it back. Take me back to the good old days.
Johnny, I don't know if you're ready for this.
Oh, I'm always ready. Let's party. Let's party.
I've had some stuff, man. Some stuff be happening. So my family actually has like a history embedded with all this sort of stuff that I didn't realize until I began to ask questions as I grew up. When I was very young, I didn't find this out until years later, when my parents, when your parents just randomly throw out stories about you, things that you did, and you're like, okay. So my mom told me the story of when we lived in Georgia. I was probably about 3-4 years old at the time. I was a single child. We lived in a military base, just me and my mom, while my dad was off in basic training. Military housing, very old, Fort Benning. People come in and out of those. It's just normal. But it was one of the older homes that we were in. And my mom said that I developed an imaginary friend. And that's normal, because, single child, that's fine. I had a big imagination. I was dramatic as a kid. My mom didn't really think much of it. And then she said that stuff started happening. And that was when she began to like, oh, maybe there's something there. We had like, this is back in the days when like the old entertainment systems, like you had to tune them in, attach to the TV. So we had it turn on in the middle of the night, full blast one night. That's awesome. They went downstairs, my mom and my dad, to come back, and nobody was there. Nobody came in the house, nothing. It just turned on. Okay. Then we had another time. She said that my dad used to keep his spare like military boots in like our downstairs closet, like behind a pair, like a box. And she found them by the door, the front door. So it was like little things like that. And like they would always find me like talking to something and like describing it. And so I apparently would describe a man, and his name was Bobby, and all this stuff. But we left, and I guess Bobby stayed there, thankfully. But like,
so he wasn't attached to you. Praise the Lord.
That's very good to know. No, when she told me this story laughing, I'm like,
why are you giggling? Am I missing something?
This was also like not long after like it was like Paranormal Activity like 2 or 3 had come out, and I was like, this isn't funny. I don't like this anymore.
I'm living a nightmare.
I was like, why did I suddenly become a protagonist in a movie? I didn't sign up for this. So like that was the first like the first instance of something strange that happened in my life. And then after that, there were just like semblances of things that just periodically popped up. And I guess if you want to say some type of sensitivity, I don't know what to call it, runs on my lovely mother's side of the family that she didn't tell me until, again, years later. So that just opens up a great can of worms to have around in your life as you grow up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could tell you, I've had experiences since I was like 7 years old. B, I've also been to most, if not all, of the military bases in the United States, the continental U.S. Benning, haunted as hell.
See? It's bad. Yeah. I've heard it's really bad. My dad said that their museum there, they have like a military museum or something that they would hate to, like, sometimes when they were on base, they would rotate like who would be, doing like guard shifts and whatnot, and they would hate being there. Like the people hated staying there. Like there's just something wrong. It's just not okay. And I'm like, oh, it's nice. It's good.
Yeah. It's crazy. Some of the places that you go, especially when you don't think they're going to be haunted, like a military base. Like you should think that it'll be haunted, but it's not the first thing that runs through your mind. The first thing that runs through your mind is America, But for me, the first thing that runs through my mind, because I've been to all of them and I do have a sensitivity, is somebody died here. Let's see if we can contact them.
See, I'm glad you have it. Somebody got to have it. I have the opposite. I'm like, somebody died here. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave now.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I have the opposite. Like, I guess, like, my family's just interesting. I encourage anyone who's watching, ask your parents questions, start digging into your history, and I bet you're going to find out stuff you had no idea existed. My grandmother on my mother's side, my great grandmother, she was basically your Baptist equivalent of like an exorcist.
Oh, nice.
Which is great. Which is nice to have running through your bloodline, I guess. So like, there's something there that be running in the veins that nobody asked for, but is around.
Yeah. I get that. It's very strange. It's very strange when you look at your history and how it dictates the rest of your life, even though you had no option for it.
Absolutely.
Like finding out that I have, American Indian blood in me, finding out that I also come from Vikings, both of which are very pagan and mystical. And I'm like, this explains too much and I don't like it.
Exactly.
I feel like I am being targeted.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like when I growing up, I was always careful. Like when it comes to like all the stuff that we talk about in the podcast, and people, if anyone's listening that follows, they'll probably know. Like I joke about it, but I'm also very serious about how like I'm very careful with the paranormal side of things because I feel like when you are somebody that is naturally sensitive or more attuned to those things, sometimes you can open doors that you don't mean to, or things can reach over that you didn't want to. So I try and limit the possibility of that as much as possible. Thankfully, we haven't had any, like since the podcast started, like that was a concern. I'm like, I'm just going to be careful. Hopefully nothing happens. We haven't really had anything happen except one episode we did catch what we think is an EVP. And that was scary. Awesome. That was scary. It said my name. It didn't say my full name, but it said my nickname. It said Yami. And I was like, I don't like that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Don't like that at all.
The Ethereal Sisters completely agree. Peeta completely agrees about being careful what you let in. I mean, I think we yeah. I I've personally, I've had attachments. You got to be very careful with that. Very
Yeah.
careful. So the cryptid, how did you get into cryptids? Did you have a cryptid experience, or was it just like, these are awesome?
Both, actually. So
Oh,
again, growing up, I love the weird. Anything strange and weird, I loved it. When we lived in another military base, we lived in Fort Carson in Colorado this time. It was me and my sister, my mom, and we lived right up against like Cheyenne Mountain. So it was like the highway and big Cheyenne Mountain where no rat is inside. So, I mean, pretty nice, huge backyard, fenced, whatnot. We would play around. It was safe enough that you could play with the neighbors in the backyard and the parents could be inside and you didn't have to worry about anything. We were playing in one of our neighbors' like swing sets, but she had it outside of her fence, right? And we had like a tree line in the back. So we're playing there and I noticed what looks like a cat from like peeping out from the tree line. And I'm like, okay, stray cats, normal. We have coyotes, foxes. That's not uncommon. It's Colorado. It like creeps out a little further and I noticed it's like fully black and it's like a lot bigger than a regular cat. Like it's not like a little tabby. It's like German Shepherd or larger. And I just remember briefly as a child, because I was probably like 7, 8 years old at this point, I was just like, this doesn't look good. I don't like this. So I told my little sister and my neighbor, and I pointed to it, and it started like, it was just kind of like creeping over. It didn't ever run. It didn't ever pounce, but it was like creeping over. And as it got closer, it was big. It was big. It was a big black cat, long tail. Not a dog, not a regular cat, not anything I had ever seen. And it scared us so badly that we screamed. And as a child, you try to figure out what to rationalize and what to do. So the first thing that came to our mind is, I'm going to climb the swing set, like over top of it, and I'm safe. Not run inside. Of course, we're not running inside. But so it worked. Like me and my friend climbed, but my sister was young. So she's like dangling there, like, help me. And I'm like, no, you're on your own. That's it.
All I got to do is outrun it.
Exactly. But
I don't mind leaving Bait behind. Your middle name's Bait, right?
She still holds that to me to this day, by the way. Our neighbor's dog, though, the other neighbor's dog, she had a big German Shepherd. Started going crazy, barking like crazy, this and that. I guess it saw it too, and it scared it, and it bolted back into the tree line. And at that point, we finally booked it inside the house, and I was just crying and trying to explain to my mom what we saw, and she was just like, you saw a dog. You saw, at worst, a wolf. And yes, that could have ended badly, but it's okay. It's okay. But like, it really, as a child, like I've always been small. So like, that was big. That was big to me. Yeah. And I didn't like how close it was getting at all. So I didn't realize till years later that unquote like big black cats in North America. I had no idea. We knew of mountain lions, and we knew about mountain lions in schools, and like they tell us that in school. But when I looked at the pictures, I'm like, this kind of looks like a mountain lion, but fully black. So that was like the cryptid experience, the only one, thankfully, I have had in my life, and that was enough to one scare me, but also to like oddly and morbidly fascinate me even more.
Yeah. That tends to be what happens with a select few of us. We have a traumatic experience with something that we can't explain, and we go, sweet, let's find out more.
Exactly. There you
go. like, oh, he got slapped in the face when he went into that haunted house. Dope. I'm being there in like 5 minutes.
Like, nice. This gave me nightmares. I'm going to Google it. Yeah, that was literally me like 20 plus years later when I had this like fever dream remembering this, and I was like, this actually happened. And Google led the trail, and I was like, I'm not the only one who has had this encounter, even in Colorado, actually.
Mhm.
So,
Well, there's what you were describing sounds a lot like what is called a wampus cat.
mhm,
And it's, I mean, a very large cat. A lot of them are very, very dark, like very dark
mhm.
fur. So it's very intriguing, very intriguing. Um, so h- what is like of all time looking into cryptids? Who is your favorite? Who is like your holy grail that like if you ever saw it you'd be like, oh hell yeah, or like who is that for you? Because we've all got one.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It is my Lord and Savior Mothman all the way. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's a winged cryptid, but I can distinctly recall watching an episode somewhere on TV about the Mothman, and it was like I fell in love. Like I was like, wow, red eyes, oof, 100-mile-per-hour wind speed, oof, yes, terrorizing a small town. That's it. That is it. Like, and now here I am, still, still in the Mothman train now.
So have you made the trip up to Point Pleasant?
I have not yet. I've always, of all the places we've lived, we've never lived anywhere near West Virginia, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And now we're in Florida, so we're even further. But I have, I had plans to go to the 2020 Mothman Festival, and that
Mhm.
obviously didn't happen. But the plan is 2021 Mothman Festival still going on. We will be there. Like,
That's
it is.
fantastic.
I've been wanting to make the trip over there. I've seen so many pictures and videos, and it's, yes, Mothman, but also I feel like there's just something about Point Pleasant itself. Like, it's a small town, and I'm a fan of small towns.
Mhm.
And it just calls to me. I would love to just be there.
Yeah. Yeah. S- so what do you think Mothman is? Like if you could explain, if you could try to dumb down Mothman for people that may not understand him,
Mhm.
like how would you explain it? And have you ever like tried to rationalize it, and where have you gotten?
I've done a lot of Mothman research again, being like the cryptid that like I'm obsessed with and have like
Mhm.
plushies and t-shirts with. Like I really wanted, like, I've always wanted to know. Like, at first I thought solid, this is a cryptid. But the more stories I've heard about Mothman, the documentaries I've seen, the books I've read, like, there's almost a strange, like, mystical component to Mothman. Whether you believe the fact that he is some sort of harbinger of like doom, some type of like
Mhm.
foreteller of tragedy or not, like, the it just the way he is like described and the effects that it has on the people that encounter Mothman, I feel like I lean more toward the fact that maybe he's not a creature per se, but more something supernatural. So whether you want to say it's paranormal, interdimensional, I've heard people throw that out as an idea. Intradimensional. Um, I've heard a lot of theories about Mothman, but I tend to lean more toward the supernatural side. That it's not like a specific creature, but something that is perhaps just one of those things that we'll never fully understand. That
Mhm.
maybe here long before we were here, and it will be here long after, wherever it comes from, whether from the earth or not, I don't know. But I tend to lean more toward that. That Mothman is some type of almost like mystical,
Like an elemental kind of thing?
yeah, like something, just something far beyond like natural.
Yeah.
He's supernatural to some
Yeah.
extent. That's how was what I tend to lean on more so. Especially because like I'm fascinated in like reading the accounts of people who have had encounters with Mothman, which those stories still continue. I don't know if people
Yeah.
know that. I know there was the initial like the initial boom,
But I've heard
in
he's like just
1966.
shifted states.
Yeah, he's popped up. There was like a cluster in like Chicago for a period, but just I've heard stories around the Great Lakes and whatnot. So I just feel like in reading like those sort of stories and people's like side effects, if you will, of encountering Mothman, that there seems to be something above natural there going on when people encounter Mothman. Like it does remind me a lot of like some other like stories that like other. It seems like most cultures, if you go globally, they have stories of not necessarily Mothman, but something that you could equate to Mothman, some sort of like foreteller of doom, something with red eyes, something that flies, something that is terrifying and that appears and disappears and like wreaks havoc to your psyche, kind of a deal. So like I feel like that's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
At all. We see that.
I've got a very I've had a very interesting kind of theory behind Mothman and potentially even Bigfoot. Is the fact that if you think about it, the fact that they can disappear and show up again whenever they want to.
Exactly.
It seems like they may be, and this is where I'm going to sound super nuts, but I think this is the perfect place to do it because it's my show and I really don't care what you think. So,
hello, let me get my tea for this one. Right.
I think that they're fae. And I think that we're experiencing two completely different sides of the fae. The dark being potentially Mothman, and the more benign being Bigfoot. But it's the same concept. Like you were saying. There are so many people that are, or there's so many of these entities that are showing up through different timelines, showing up in different religions, belief systems, places on this planet. I mean, how many different versions of Bigfoot are there? It would make sense that what we're seeing is a little bit of that dimensional crossover from the Fae. That's the only reason that A, they would have the abilities that they do, and B, they can, disappear and show up whenever they want to. We're not finding bodies, things like that.
Yeah, that's like the big thing. I've had the same shift with Bigfoot also. Like I went from thinking like it's solely a creature with, I mean, it could, but the fact that we have never found a body and that, like you said, it seems to disappear and come at random almost, like there has to be a reason. And I know I've heard people throughout like the theory of like portals, like perhaps somehow they are interdimensional sort of beings that can portal around, which first of all is badass. But
for real,
it's great. I love that. But I feel like there's something to that, because it provides an explanation for the fact of like the lack of like tangible bodily evidence for these creatures. But so many people have encountered them and so many people have seen them that I really can't discredit that. I think there's no way we can. I think we need to look into that. And maybe there is more to it than we think. So I love getting to see, people from all over hunting Bigfoot, because everyone has like a different like shift for it, different focus and whatnot. And I mean, who knows who we'll find. I personally feel like we'll end up finding a Bigfoot before Mothman. I feel like Mothman's just floating around in the upside down somewhere, just doing his thing.
For those of you who have been living under a rock and never had Netflix before, the Upside Down is a reference to one of the greatest shows that has ever been made, being Stranger Things. If you don't know anything about it, get out from under your rock.
All 2 seasons are out now, so.
Yep. Still waiting on that third one. So we've talked about the winged creature that is Mothman, and we're going to go to one of my favorite winged ones. Very well known, a little bit further northeast. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but his name is Old Jersey Devil.
Oh yes, that's also one of the first ones I heard about, though.
Yeah. So how much research have you done on the Jersey Devil, and where, like, have you come to any conclusions on him?
I've done a little bit, mainly on like the folklore behind it, the story that we seem to get from the Jersey Devil. Because I think of like all the cryptids that has like the most like folkloric story to it, which always fascinated me hearing it. So I've done a little bit of like research into that part of it. The Jersey Devil to me is interesting because I don't know quite what to make of it, because on the one hand, I'm like, it's winged, so it's a winged cryptid, so perhaps it is looped in with these winged cryptids in general. Maybe it's along those, or like maybe it is some type of like actual like crazy monstrous like demon like the like was originally thought of in the folklore of it, in the story. Because I mean, that's basically what it was, is like the Jersey Devil was born as this monster that either some people say devoured the whole family or just like terrorized them and then flew out, kind of a deal. Like, depends on who you, on like what side of the story you take. And folklore, you know, as it grows and it shifts and is passed down, sometimes those details can change or be added on to. So I understand that. But the Jersey Devil is definitely an interesting. He's an interesting cryptid to me. I am very biased to winged cryptids because they seem super cool and, again, equally terrifying, because something swooping down to you, wow, that's scary. I don't like that. Again, I'm small, so like you're big enough, you're like a Thunderbird or something, you can get me. That's it. You'll never. No one will ever see me again. It's gone.
That's funny. So I am going to give you an interesting thought on the Jersey Devil.
Ooh.
So I have several friends from across these United States and that have had encounters with a certain winged living dinosaur. Now, if we break down the eyewitness accounts, completely disregarding that joke of a sketch that somebody made that didn't live anywhere near the town and was not taking it seriously.
You don't like the horse head?
Oh my God. All right. If we actually break down what they were talking about, and if you build it in your mind, it looks like a flying pterosaur, a living dinosaur.
It does. It does.
So, just saying. I think that may be what we're dealing with when it comes to the Jersey Devil. And a lot of people say, well, where would a living dinosaur be able to hide out? Well, the Pine Barrens is massive. So there's your answer. Also, Frank just wanted to say your BB-8 mug is dope. So
thanks. I don't know where I don't remember where I got it, so I can't drop a link.
And then obviously Greg says that Mothman is his boyfriend.
I won't fight that because now I'm engaged. Before I would have thought he was a nail for that.
And then Frank also says that Bigfoot is bae. Amen. But so you have a bias towards winged creatures. Now, obviously, with a name like Gonzalez, I have to ask about the Chupa.
Yes, ask me about Chupi. That's okay. I am A-okay with that.
So I imagine that you've heard tons of stories, probably over the years, from family members and things like that. What you got for me? Talk to me about the Chupster.
So I was born in Puerto Rico, and that's actually where the original Chupacabra sightings took place. So Chupacabra is interesting because like that's technically like the first like internet viral cryptid, because that was along the time when the internet was popping out. So that's I think how the story really took off. But in growing up with family from Puerto Rico and being born there on the island, like everybody knows about the Chupacabra. Like that's a story that is definitely told over and over again. It's part of the folklore now of the island, and we have a lot of weird stuff. First of all, that happens on the island, a lot of weird stuff. So this is one of those things. But I've done a lot of research on the Chupacabra. I actually did. I was on another podcast, Somewhere in the Skies, with Ryan, and we did like a Chupi special. I think it's coming out soon, but like we just talked about Chupi, and the stories are amazing. Like I because I had a cultural tie to this cryptid, I always wanted to dive into and learn more. So I just did as much research as possible as I could on Chupi and came up with a whole bunch of different stories. That wasn't the first time that the Chupacabra, because it's always like a burst of sightings. But that wasn't the first time that there had been like an encounter with some type of creature that was, one, mutilating animals, and then two, like quote unquote sucking blood from them. That had happened like a good 20-30 years prior in another town in Puerto Rico, and they like just called it like the vampire. They're like, we don't know what the hell's going on. So like I feel like that was probably just one and the same. But Chupi's interesting. I feel like I lean more towards on the side of the Chupacabra being a tangible creature, whether some type of mutated animal or UFO, perhaps, because we do have a lot of UFO activity that happens.
Cattle mutilation.
Yes. Yeah, we have a lot of UFO sightings on and around the island. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's if it's linked to it. What is interesting to me is the difference in the Puerto Rico Chupacabra descriptions and the Chupacabra descriptions in like southern North America, Mexico, Central America. Like, they're almost two completely different creatures that are being described. Like in Puerto Rico, they're describing basically, it looks like an alien almost, like this creature that can stand on its hind legs with like spines and quills and, you know, like fangs, claws, very big eyes. Like it really does resemble in respects like some kind of like monstrous alien, like from your nightmares. Like it really does. But then
like a gray on steroids.
Exactly. 100%. And then there were some stories, some encounters where people said that they saw it like flying too. So that's equally terrifying too. So, and then we get to the North American. Yeah, I know. Like if the spines and the quills don't do it for you,
scary enough.
Put some wings on that bad boy.
He could also just pick you up and do what he
wants. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. But like the North American Chupi is like more like, it's almost like described as like some type of like dog, like creature more than anything. Very different. Two completely different descriptions. So I almost feel like they're two different things that just happen to have similar characteristics and behavior. But that's kind of about it to me, because that's very strange. Like it literally is two completely different Chupis. Like I don't know that Chupi. I know this Chupi.
Well, like it literally it's very interesting because obviously I have more of the knowledge of the Americanized version of the Chupacabra, and it to me it literally just seems like it may be like either a or a pack of wild dogs. Like that's what makes sense to me, because there really is like the MO isn't even completely the same. So why are we calling it a Chupacabra when it's probably just either coyotes or wild dogs?
Yeah, or I've heard like people say maybe it's a dog with like mange, because it's like the descriptions.
Well, the video that the cop took of the dog running down the road, they're like, oh, it's a Chupacabra. No, it was a dog. It was a dog with a skin disease.
Or like that one specific kind of species of dog that It's like in Mexico that starts with like
Oh,
an
yeah.
X. I can't pronounce it to save my life, but they look like the descriptions of the chupacabras over there. So that's why it is interesting. I think they just slapped chupacabra on it because they're like, animals are being attacked and blood is being sucked. Bam, that's a chupacabra. I'm like, well, I mean, by definition, it's goat sucker. So like, I guess like what?
Yeah. But I mean, Chupacabra sounds a lot better than goat sucker. Like
Yeah.
goat sucker sounds like it needs to be on a whole different set of internet shows. Like we're not going to mention those here. But
I think the name actually was given in Puerto Rico by like a comedian, if I remember correctly, too.
Oh, that's hysterical. He's officially one of my favorite people on the planet then. But it's very strange to me, and I like the idea, you know, the cattle mutilations, and because technically goats are cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So it could, in theory, just be some roided out gray that is half, you know, its dad was maybe a gray and its mom was maybe, you know, a vampire. But it's just intriguing. Like that's an interesting thought process. I never would have put that together.
Yeah, the stories are wild. Like if you do the research, you can read a few stories. But like I've read a few. Like there was a man that he encountered the chupacabra from like it was in his house.
What is he doing in the house?
Yes, so it was just this man described it like he had walked into, I think it was his son or daughter's room on the second story, and the window was open, and he saw this creature hunched over, like I guess like attacking like a stuffed animal. So I don't know if it mistook it as like like as a pet or something, and then it like saw him and like bolted out of the window, and it left behind like a puddle of like almost like a goo, and it like he says it was like it smelled and this and that, but I'm like, that was the first and one of the only stories I heard where like the encounter was that up close in somebody's house. That would have done it for me. I would have moved.
Chupacabra might want to have that look at it. It sounds like it may be a form of gonorrhea.
Yeah. Need to get that I was like, ooh. Need to get that looked at. Especially because that was like one of the only stories I heard where it described it that way. I'm like, is Chupi okay?
Maybe an issue here. Maybe you might have two things, Chup. You might have two things. Greg says that. So for those of you who are wondering, we're not going to try to pronounce it because that's how I would end up with an aneurysm, and I'm not doing that.
That is the dog, though. That is definitely it.
And then PETA from Ethereal Sisters says that the goat sucker needs its OnlyFans page.
It would be in like the top percentage. Just for that.
I almost started an OnlyFans page, guys. It was basically just going to be me sitting watching Star Wars while eating chicken wings.
You'd be surprised. You never know.
There's going to be like 3 people that watch it, but it's going to be expensive. I'll be honest with you. I'm broke right now. But yeah, so it's really crazy. You've gotten into a lot of research with all of these different cryptids. It's insane to me. The passion that people can show in this community. It drives. It's what's driving us forward. And I think it's phenomenal that you've turned it into a show and you've gotten the response that you've got. Your episodes are phenomenal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I describe them as like organized chaos. Like at first it started with the episode just being me, and then I was like, I don't know if people are getting bored of just hearing me speak. So then that's when I brought my sister in. So she's a reoccurring guest because she's not even 2 feet from my bedroom. So she's it was during pandemic. I'm like, you're not doing anything better. What do you else? Do you have plans? No, you don't.
Like, let's go. Let's party. Let's do this.
Let's do it. So,
I mean, I can always just strap you to a chair and stick a mic in your face, and then what?
she likes this kind of stuff too. So like it was fun. Like, and I saw like a good response to like having a guest. So like that's when we started like popping in guests. So like I like to have a nice mix of having guests come on, but also like just me chatting about different things that I find that's weird and interesting, things that people have sent, stories that people have shared. So it's a nice mix, but it does get. I like the podcast being organized chaos. Like I want people to enjoy it, laugh with it, but also to like learn too. So like it's a good balance of all those things, I think. Although sometimes we absolutely derail, and those are the episodes of my sister because she's uncensored and I have to do so much editing. Oh God.
Yeah, I get that. I had I think it was maybe like my fourth or fifth show. I actually had the guy that inspired me to do podcasting on my show.
Oh wow.
And I was like, hey, keep that verbal nonsense to a minimum. And he dropped the F-bomb like 3 times, and I was like, I don't edit any of this stuff. I hardly even edit my investigations anymore. Like, no, stop. But I love the guy. It's fantastic, and I agree. Organized chaos is the best way to do it. That's what this show is. This show is organized chaos. I have an idea of like my first 3 questions that I want to ask, and then I let whatever the guest says dictate what comes next. It could be absurd, it could be whatever, but the point is, I think that I agree with you that there needs to be a comedic aspect to it, because there's so many people in this community that when they go out and they put stuff on the internet or they put stuff on TV or whatever, it's so super serious, but we're all nuts. We're all mad here. Like, just let your freak flag fly. Like, just
if you describe what you do to somebody, you're going to get raised eyebrows. So I just let my personality do the rest. Like, I'm not going to try and... I couldn't come across as incredibly scientifically minded and whatnot, even though I do like that stuff. But, like, I just prefer to let my craziness and strangeness come forth. And, the greatest thing about, like you said, this community is that we have a good mix of people, but like there's a really nice like amount of humor and just like quirkiness to the community, and it's really embraced well. Like you're not too I've never met anyone too strange for this community. It doesn't exist.
No,
does not exist.
Absolutely cannot be too strange for this. I mean, there's some people that I wish would step away from it. I'm not going to mention any names, but not everything's a demon. That's all I'm saying. I
feel like I'm watching an episode of something on TV too.
Oh, sweet Jesus. So Greg, you're co-host of Order 66. And also, the man behind All the Weird says that your Star Wars podcast has a hard R rating on it. So clearly, it's meant for children. I
love geeking out about Star Wars on that podcast, and that's like another thing about this community is that like I've been able to meet amazing people. Like I've made friends in this community, which I know is a weird concept to some people, particularly with these people, but like everybody was, again, pandemic hit, everybody I think really just wanted to get to know and connect with people, and I just connected with some amazing people in this community, like, and we just hit it all off, and we found out that not only do we share this passion for the strange and the weird, but also other things like Star Wars. And that's where Order 66, the podcast, came out, and that was me, Greg, and thank you. I don't have a lightsaber yet, which is terrible, but I have like an entire bookshelf of like Star Wars collectibles. We also host it with Mothboy Matt, who's awesome too. So like, we're just like a hodgepodge of these, but yeah, we don't really censor that one too much. We just kind of let it do its thing.
It's like it sounds like it's like Anakin Skywalker. It's truly meant to be around younglings. So,
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
so guys, before we wrap this up, you guys know the drill. All of her stuff is down in the description below. All right. If you're not following, be good people. Okay. All right. That's all I'm saying. Just be good people because good people follow, they subscribe, they show love, they comment, they like, they do all of these things because they're good people and they want to show support.
It's
Okay.
true.
To do that, please, like, don't suck. That's all I'm
And
saying.
Mothman will love you infinitely more if you do that.
It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. I've heard that. He will not bring destruction
No,
to your town.
Yep.
Well, he may bring it to part of the town.
but not you.
But not you. Not you. Also, I just wanted to point out I have an amazing sister who, for Christmas this past year, got me a metallic cutout of my boy Bigfoot.
I love it. Oh,
So occasionally, when I'm doing like an after party or something with my friends, like on YouTube, I'll just randomly, without like no face, nothing, not even looking at the camera.
Just let it happen. See if they notice it. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, guys, since I have you here, for those of you who know about the show that I co-host on Friday nights with Emily Menshouse from What the Frick Live over on the Manifest Network on Facebook, you guys saw on Friday that we had on Sean and Cody from The New Reality. Great guys, love them. Some of my best friends at this point. And we actually got into an argument. It was basically 3 against Emily about how a phone on airplane mode cannot set off an EMF meter. Now, it's true that it can't, but she is of the belief that it can. So right now, I'm throwing this out to everybody watching my show right now, that if you use hashtag EMF challenge, okay, and you send that in via Instagram, you can send it to me, you can send it to Emily, you can send it to Sean, you can send it to Cody at The New Reality, whatever. All right. The winner who can, well, let's not say winner. If she gets proven consistently that it does not set it off, if she gets proven that it doesn't, okay, she will be buying an $800 voice recorder for The New Reality. And also, the person with the best, most entertaining video will get. Let me get it ready. Let me get it.
A reveal.
They get it. The K2 Brute shirt for free. Okay. So, if you could prove that your K2 does not go off around your phone while it's on airplane mode, and it's a great video that is intriguing and fun, you will be able to get that shirt sent to you without you even having to pay a dime. All you've got to do is just shoot a video. So what do you say, guys? Let's help somebody get a shirt, and let's prove to Emily Menshouse, as much as I love her, that she is dead wrong and doesn't know anything. So
all the
Emily,
love and support in this community.
all of it. Just let's prove her wrong. But also, guys, when you're out there and you're following Yami, you're following the Cryptid Chat girl, okay? When you're doing that, and you're following Greg, and you're following all of these beautiful people that are just over on the other side of her in the chat, when you're doing that, make sure that whenever you find somebody that is in the paranormal community, the cryptid community, the UFO community, whatever, you are showing that love. You are showing that support. Okay? No matter how big, no matter how small, we're out here for the same reason, guys. Research takes people. It takes time. We're all out here for the same reason. So show that love and support. And with that being said, guys, I love you all. Well, yeah, no, I love you all. And oh, also, you know what? I didn't even do like half of my stuff that I normally do. John, get it together, man.
No,
Just
it's cool.
permanently.
You're showering them with love, though. I'm seeing. I have the chat, so there's like some hearts.
I'm just forcing a little bit of guilt upon them. Also, for those of you who don't know, and you may be stumbling across this later, or you just happen to stumble across it right now, you guys can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Sparks of the Paranormal. Also, we have merch and PayPal links are available down there. Every dime that you guys give goes to make our investigations better so we can bring you better content, go to bigger and better places. Also, it says that it dropped this next one, but it's already out. Part 2 of the Fellowship Baptist Church investigation, where if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to tell you, but if you have seen it, I'm still not going to tell you because there's somebody watching who hasn't seen it. But some intense stuff goes down. You guys definitely don't want to miss that. Also, we have that K2 Brute shirt that is dropping at midnight tonight and will be available through next Sunday at midnight. But yes, hang on. Let's double check in the brain. Let's try to get it to kick in. I think we got it all.
John. Don't worry, I'm the same. I usually have notes because my mind, as we speak, I have like, there's always a pocket of my mind that's thinking about Mothman. There's always a part of my mind thinking about Star Wars. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about that. So
always going.
It's always going.
Always going. So you have Cryptid Chat, and you also have Order 66. So, guys, look out for all of that stuff. Okay, if you like Star Wars, like basically, if you're smart and you understand that Star Wars is better than every other series that is out there. And I do not apologize for anyone that's like, oh, Harry Potter's better. It's not. It's just Harry Potter's just Star Wars with sucky lightsabers. Okay, so make sure that you guys are checking them out. I love you all, and we will talk to you next time on Sparks of the Paranormal. End it.